Hey, this is the video lesson for lesson 4.5, and you are going to learn about something called dimensional analysis. And basically, dimensional analysis is converting measurement units, say so many yards to feet or ounces to pounds, and we use dimensional analysis to do it. And it's basically just writing a multiplication fraction problem to convert units. All right, so I'm going to show you the definition here for dimensional analysis. Says it's the process of including units of measurement as factors when you compute. Don't worry about what that says. Dimensional analysis is just what I'm about to show you. And this key thing is this table here on page 290. You are going to need this throughout the lesson. So I have it blown up nice and big down here so we can see it. And I'm going to show you using 3 easy steps how to convert these problems using multiplying fractions. So this one says convert 20 feet to inches. So I'm going to get a little workspace up here. Let me make this a little bigger. So 20 feet to inches. Here's my workspace. And I'm going to show you how to do it. So the first step is to write 20 feet as a fraction. So when you write 20 feet, to write any whole number as a fraction, you write it over 1. Okay, that's the first step. So remember, we're going to be doing a multiplication problem. So that means we need our second fraction. Now our second fraction we get up from the table. Now if you look here, it says we are converting feet to inches. So we need to know the feet and inches conversion, which is right here. We know 1 foot is 12 inches. Now here is the thing. In dimensional analysis, you want feet to be diagonal from feet. You want whatever the same unit is to be diagonal, and you'll see why in a second. So I know feet is going to go down here, and my conversion is 1 foot is 12 inches. Notice I just took my information from here. 1 foot is 12 inches, and I wrote it as my second fraction. Now, you just solve this by multiplying these two fractions. So as I do this, let me switch to blue. There's no bow tie reducing, except in dimensional analysis, you're going to cross out the common units. So feet are common with feet. They cancel each other out. And I do 20 times 12. And if I know 2 times 12 is 24, 20 times 12 is 240, over 1, which is 240 inches, which is my answer. All right, now let's go down and we are going to do A, B, and C together to help you get the hang of this. Okay, so you can just do A, B, and C with me here. So remember, as I go through the steps, I have to figure out 36 yards and I'm changing it to feet. So remember, I'm going to write 36 yards as a fraction. And to write that as a fraction, I write it over 1. Notice, and this is really important, I labeled the yards on top. If you don't label, you're going to get these wrong. Now, for my second fraction, let me get my pen ready here. I have to look for my yards feet conversion. And if I look up here, I see yards and feet right here. 1 yard is 3 feet. So the only thing I need to make sure is my 1 yard is down here. And it's unusual, but you want yards diagonal from each other. And 1 yard is 3 feet. And when I multiply, remember the only bow tie reducing is that these yards cancel out. That's where the dimensional analysis comes in. And I get 36 times 3. And 36 times 3, if I do that down here, that's 18, is 108. Okay, so I get 108 over 1. So my answer is 108 feet. Now here's the cool thing. Once you cancel the yards out, like I did here, the only unit left is feet. So that's how I know my answer is going to be feet if you're ever doing any of these. All right, so let's slide over and we'll do problem B. So in problem B, remember I want my amount that I'm changing to be a fraction. And do you notice 3/4 is already a fraction? So that's kind of cool. We don't have to write anything over 1. So 3/4 tons. This is how I write it though. 3/4 is a fraction, but you want your tons to be on top. That's going to tell you how you line up your second fraction. Now we're looking for tons and pounds. And let me highlight in pink. I see 1 ton is 2,000 pounds. So I need to have my 1 ton down here because I want my tons to be diagonal from each other. See how the one is on top and the other is on bottom. And 1 ton is 2,000 pounds. Now when I bow tie reduce this time, first off, my tons cancel out because they're diagonal from each other. That's part of the bow tie reducing. And in this one, 4 can go into itself once. And 4 can go into 2,000 because I know 4 goes into the 20 4 times. And I just have to add these 2 zeros to get 400. So I'm done bow tie reducing. Now I solve. 3 times 400 is 1,200. 1 times 1 is 1. So my answer is going to be 1,200 pounds. Okay, you ready for the third one? In the third one, this time I have a mixed number, 1.5 quarts. But remember, I have to write that as a fraction, so I'm going to write it as an improper fraction. So 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So 1.5 quarts is really 3/2 quarts. And I put the quarts on top. And I'm going to multiply that by my second fraction. Now remember, I want quarts diagonal from quarts. So that means pints have to go on top here. So let me look for the pints and quarts up in my table. And I see 1 quart is 2 pints right there. That's the fraction I'm going to use. So 1 quart is 2 pints. Now let's do some bow tie reducing. Quarts disappear because they're diagonal. 2 goes into itself 1 time, and 2 goes into itself 1 time. So now I multiply. 3 times 1 is 3. 1 times 1 is 1. 3 over 1 is 3. And it's going to be 3 pints. So that's how I use dimensional analysis to figure out that 1.5 quarts is 3 pints. All right, on to the next page. Now on the next page, you're going to see it's really more of the same. So we'll go over example 2, and then I'm going to have you try problem D. So let me zoom in here. All right, so first off, in problem 2, it says, Marco mixes 1/4 cup fertilizer with soil before planting each bulb. How many fluid ounces of fertilizer does he use per bulb? So basically, I am changing 1/4 cups to fluid ounces in this problem. So I'm going to show you how to do it with dimensional analysis. Okay, so I start with the 1/4 cup. So that's my first fraction, and remember I want cups on top. And for my second fraction, I want cups on bottom because I want them diagonal. So now I'm looking for cups and fluid ounces in my table below. Okay, so here is cups and fluid ounces. 1 cup is 8 fluid ounces. So 1 cup is 8 fluid ounces. Now when I solve, I'm going to do some bow tie reducing. Remember, the 2 cups cancel. 4 goes into itself 1 time, and 4 goes into 8 2 times. So now I multiply. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 over 1 is 2, and my unit left is fluid ounces. So that means if Marco mixes 1/4 cup, that's the same as 2 fluid ounces. All right, so now I'm going to have you try one. So I want you to try, let me get that out of the way. I want you to try problem D on your own. Pause the video, do dimensional analysis. When you're done, restart it and see if you're right. Go. All right, let's see how you did. So here's what it says. Jen runs 1/8 of a mile before tennis practice. How many feet does she run before practice? So I'm going to start by writing 1/8 of a mile as my first fraction. So I have 1/8, and did you put miles on top? Now I'm going to multiply that by my second fraction, which I'm going to get. So I see miles, 1 mile is 5,280 feet. So my 1 mile is going to go on the bottom, and I have 5,280 feet on top. Now this one, when I bow tie reduce, I'm actually not going to. I know 8 might go into 5,280, but I'm going to start by doing this. Just because that number is big, bow tie reducing isn't going to help me. So 1 times 5,280 is 5,280, and 8 times 1 is 8. So guess what? I have to do 5,280 divided by 8 anyway. So let me do it. 5,280 divided by 8, that's 48. 8 goes into 48 6 times, which is 48. And that 0 I'm just going to bring up. So my answer is going to be 660 feet. If you had that for D, give yourself a C. If not, pause the video and take a second to fix it. All right, so let's go down and we're going to try some of the problems below. E, F, and G. All right. Actually, I decided to skip over E. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to try F. Remember, write 100 ounces as a fraction. Then you're doing ounces and pounds. You're going to get that from the table for your second fraction and see if you can solve it. Pause the video. Go. Okay, let's see how you did. First off, 100 over 1. Make sure ounces is on top. That's your first fraction. Now, ounces and pound, if I look up at the table, I see 1 pound is 16 ounces. So watch how I write it. 1 pound is 16 ounces. Here's the main thing. Are your ounces diagonal from your ounces? That's how you know you did it right. So now I'm going to solve. I'm going to do some bow tie reducing. First off, the ounces cancel. I know 4 goes into 16 4 times, and 4 goes into 100 25 times. So now I multiply. 25 times 1 is 25. 1 times 4 is 4. That's an improper fraction, so I do 25 divided by 4, which is 6. 6 1/4. So that means 100 ounces is 6 1/4 pounds. Remember, that's the only unit that's left, so I know my answer is pounds. That's your answer to problem F. All right, let's go over to problem G. So I want you to do problem G by yourself. Restart it when you're done, and let's see if you get it right. Go ahead. All right, so first off, did you write 3 cups as a fraction? Next, it's cups and pints. So when I look here, I see 1 pint is 2 cups. There's my conversion, my second fraction. So I have 1 pint on top, 2 cups on the bottom, because I want cups diagonal from cups. Hopefully you're still in it. Next, bow tie reducing. The only thing I could do is cancel the cups. So when I multiply, I get 3 over 2. And if you divide that, that's 1 1/2 pints. So 3 cups is 1 1/2 pints. All right, last page is just example 4. So I'll show you that in a real world example. So that says, Umika, or however you say that, needs 4.5 feet of fabric to make a costume for a play. How many yards of fabric does she need? So I'm going to get some workspace here. And I'm going to take 4.5 feet. And I'm going to write that as a fraction. So that's 9/2 feet. Times, I'm doing feet and yards. So I know 1 yard is 3 feet. Notice, and this is important, feet are diagonal from feet. Next, I'm going to bow tie reduce. The feet will cancel each other out. 3 goes into itself once, 3 goes into 9 3 times. And I'm going to multiply. 3 times 1 is 3, 2 times 1 is 2. 3 halves simplifies to 1.5 yards. So I know 4.5 feet is 1.5 yards. All right, that's it for me. So if you have any questions, make sure you ask me. I know this is a tough lesson at first. It takes some time to get used to dimensional analysis. But hopefully this got you a start, and we'll talk to you later.